This club had one of the craziest seasons in history. From having their third gaffer in a week, with one boss only lasting 7 hours, to appointing England's youngest ever manager. But how did they find themselves in this situation? Yaxley FC were relegated with just one win in a complete season. But how are they planning on rebuilding the football club? We're going to speak to the chairman who hired the 20-year-old manager and find out his plan to bring success back to the club. And the man whose job it was to build an entire new squad from scratch. This video has been sponsored by HelloFresh, but we'll tell you more about that later on. Malcolm, how long have you been chairman here at Yaxley Football Club?
This will be the 9th season they're coming up. Bit of an old timer.
Is it fair to say the 22-23 season will go down as probably one of the craziest seasons you'll ever be a part of?
Did you say 22-23? Well, I sort of like wiped that from memory. Yeah, I think you're right, actually. It was one of the craziest ones we had. It all started off fairly calm, shall we say. Few of the old-timer players just before season started decided they had enough and didn't want to stay. So we started off the season with a little bit of an unbalanced squad and team. Everything went okay, third year of step 4, and then early 2023, the then manager, Andy Ferns, just rang me one day and said, sorry, but got to pack it in, you know, blah, blah, blah. Explained his reasons, which you can't argue with. Just prior to Fern's departure, he'd got an acquaintance contacted him, Sammy Mould, who was, in inverted commas, an agent, and he said, oh, I've got 1 or 2 players that are worth looking at. So they came down, signed them, played them, and the numbers grew. It went from 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we finished up with about eight players that come in through Sammy Mould.
Were they good? Were they decent players?
They were decent players, yeah. You couldn't take that away from them. All very decent players. Took a little while to sit into the squad and adjust, but you know it was what it was. And then obviously, let's say when Ferns went, so we advertised for another manager, appointed one or 2 little things in and around that.
Wasn't that anyway, one of the quickest managerial sackings though as well?
I think that's what it's gone down as. Yeah, yeah.
7 hours over on the newspaper report.
Yeah, I think 7 hours was a little bit unfair actually. It was more like 4 or 5 days. But yeah, I mean, everybody puts their own spin on it as normal, just to get the media coverage.
Before we continue with this incredible story, let us tell you about a special offer from today's video sponsors, HelloFresh. We're constantly travelling around the country visiting different football grounds, and after a long away day, the last thing on our mind is having to come up with a healthy and nutritious meal to eat. So if, like us, you're looking to add variety and inspiration to your meals, HelloFresh has you covered. All you need to do is select your desired meal from the list of mouth-watering options, then follow the simple cooking instructions, and hey pesto, pun intended, you've got healthy fresh food served to you on a plate. So get involved and prevent that meal selection headache with HelloFresh, who are offering you this fantastic deal. You can get 60% off your first box, plus 20% off the next 2 months, and free desserts for life. Simply scan the QR code on the screen right now and start choosing your next meals. Alternatively, you can click the link in the description and use our unique code. I might not be as flexible as I once was, but HelloFresh is. You can pause, cancel, or change delivery address whenever you want. We really appreciate your support for Location Football, and we hope you can enjoy this fantastic HelloFresh offer. Let's get back to the video.
Like I say, we appointed a manager, and then in the meanwhile, through discussions, things didn't go quite right behind the scenes, so we didn't actually get him onto the field, and his departure went. And through conversations with Sammy Mould, it was decided through the club that give him a shout at the job.
You had a lot of media attention when you did appoint Sammy, England's youngest ever manager at 20 years old. When you had conversations with him, what were they like? Did he sound like he knew what he was talking about?
He honestly did. You know, he sounded and he came across quite credible. I don't get over the club as much as I do midweek for training sessions, etc., etc. But when you did, and when you was looking on from the outside, all right, I'm not a football manager by a long way, but I've been associated with football for about the last 40, 45 years. I do know a little bit about it, and I was thinking the gel wasn't there. It was all sort of like ad hoc. But you know, in the initial talks, he came across. What's the saying? You can talk a good talk, and that's what he could do. You know, we had the BBC down there, we had ITV down here. It was on all the local news. It made the national newspapers, etc. So from that point of view, you know, publicity for the club at that point was good. If only it had increased the numbers through the turnstile on a Saturday afternoon, it would have been a lot better. It was all okay for a first few games, and then behind the scenes, things were not quite as they should have been, shall we say. There was one or two little uproars in the dressing room. We got one or two bills from damage changing rooms from him from away clubs when we'd been away.
We'd had a bit of a temper, did
he? Thrown his toys out the pram.
He was only 20 years old.
Yeah, but he had a bit of a fiery spot, shall we say. I think we got about 8 or 9 games to go at the season. As a committee, we just said, look, something's got to be done. It's not working, things are not right. With a little bit of a military operation, we phoned him and said, your time's up, very sorry, thank you for everything you've done, but, he threw his toys out the pram, you can't do that, I'll take my players and I'll do this and I'll do that. He went, players stayed, commitment was to the club, which we was grateful for, and not to Sammy. We then had one of our ex-reserve team managers who came in to see us through to the end of the season, and he got Simon Robertson, who's now the first team manager. He came in with him as an assistant. We got through at the end of the season, but obviously the story as you know it, got relegated obviously. Not very many points out of the 22-23 season.
You mentioned you didn't get many points. It was one win throughout the whole season, 6 points in total. How tough is that for you as a chairman to see that happening to the club that you love?
It certainly makes you reflect on what you're doing, the amount of sleepless nights you get thinking, what have I done wrong? What is this? Why is that? Is it time for me to move on? Have I took the club as far as it can go? But, if you speak to anybody that really knows me and knows me well, I'm not a quitter. And I actually said to the wife, I've got the club into this position. I've got to get them out of it.
How difficult is appointing a new manager and finding the right person at this level? Obviously, you were step 4 at the time and you're moving into step 5. Everyone knows the story of what's going on. How difficult was that process?
Well, I thought it would have been quite difficult, but we finished up with about 12 applicants, which amazed me. Some of them just came out of the woodwork. There was a couple that had been here previously in years gone by, much before my time. But I think, at the time, what our brief was that we decided on for what we actually wanted, there was about 2 that fitted the grill, and obviously Robbo eventually came out on top. But luckily enough for the club, Wilkes was maybe second choice, and he came in anyway. So we had really the 2 top contenders coming in together, which then was a total rebuild of the club, both on and off the pitch. We sat back as a club stroke committee and thought, things aren't quite right, we need to change. During that season, as any club will do, when things are not going right on the field, things are not going right anywhere, social media was so negative all the while. Even if you forget the people that were just there with the fishing rods, dropping the bait out for a bite. And the impact on the club on socials, as you well know, socials are the be-all and end-all now. It's not like years ago where it was word of mouth. It's what you write is what you see and what you get, and everybody jumps on as keyboard warriors. We sat there and had a brief and said, look, step 5, all we need to do is stay in the league. There was one stage there where we was actually up into the playoffs, and everybody's going, what's going on here, But as it does normally, you have injuries and everything else, and it dropped away. Last season, really, for what happened and the way that the season started with the rebuild, it was a creditable 7th place finish. So, really can't knock that from the management team, the players. They just started to gel week after week after week. If you look around tonight, we've got a nucleus of all of them that are here again. Maybe you lose 1 or 2 as you normally do, but it's looking pretty good for the coming season.
Another season with Robbo and Wilkes. What is the ambition for 24-25?
The ambition, I think, if we're deadly serious, the club brief is stay in the league. Robbo and Wilkes take a slightly different view of it. We're going to push for step 4. That's not a bad thing, but we have to be prepared for it this time, because it's no good going to step 4 for a season and coming back down and doing the hip hop. If we're going to do it, we've got to be ready for it. We've got to have everything in place, and we've all got to be singing off the same hymn sheet.
So Robbo, you came in at the back end of that season, the craziest season ever, with 8 games to go. What were your first impressions?
Well, obviously I've been here at Yaxley before because I was a reserve team manager 2 years prior to that, so I knew about the club. And to be honest, I wasn't doing anything at the time. My mum had just passed away, so I was looking for something to take the mind off that, and spoke to Lloyd and Malcolm and came in to do some coaching. But yeah, I'd seen on socials it was going mad. And to be fair, I had a bit of a love for the football club because of my time here as a reserve manager. So to see it getting battered, I felt a little bit sorry for him. So I just came in, just wanted to help out and try and not steady the ship, but certainly get them over the line to finish that season at step 4. And to be fair, between Lloyd and myself and the players that we had at the time, we'd done all right. Yeah, I mean, we're already relegated, but got to the cup final and lost on penalties to a step 3 side. So yeah, it was all right. It was enjoyable.
So what made you take the role as first team manager, knowing what had happened before?
There's good people at this football club. There's not enough good people. I'm not just personally, I'm not just a football manager. I like to get involved off the pitch, help with a bit of sponsorship and do whatever. And I knew that if I could do that and I could perhaps drive a few things along with the good people at the football club, maybe we'd encourage some more and it would get better, because let's face it couldn't have got any worse than that season. So it was a good challenge. They were step 5. It was a good challenge for me. I'd previously been at a step 6 club, so and like I say, I had a bit of an affiliation for the football club. Got on well with Malk, although he'll probably tell you differently. But yeah, we get on. It's a good club. It is a good club. So yeah, it's a good draw for me.
I was going to say, what type of squad did you inherit? But you told me earlier that you had blank canvas. There was no players when you joined.
So the previous season, them last 8 games, there was a squad that had been assembled, but none of those players were going to feature in this new season that I was part of last season. There was 1 or 2 that I spoke to, but it just turned out they were either too far away. A lot of the players from that year were travelling from London and Milton Keynes. So, they'd come from the previous manager, and they weren't going to stick around. So between myself and Wilkins, who's my assistant, I don't like to call him my assistant, but he helps me out an awful lot, and we formed two groups of players between us and merged together last year, and totally new squad. Most of them step 6 players as well, to be fair, playing it in step 5, and so it's good.
How did what happened the season before affect the playing budget for the following season when you were starting from scratch essentially?
Yeah, it was reduced. It was reduced, because it was a step 4 budget, still a very low step 4 budget from obviously I wasn't massively involved in that then, but it was reduced, and we were probably, I can't tell you what everybody's budget is in our league, but we were probably one of the lowest, because we're not a massively well supported football club, and we're playing against big clubs, they're towns, like the St Neots, they're a town, and they get great support, good sponsorship, great support. So it's an uphill battle, but it was reduced.
So how did you steady the ship then for a team that won just 1 game? What's the first thing you did when you come through the door?
Myself and Wills got together. We had a list of players that we knew from previous. He'd managed Huntingdon before at step 6. I'd been at Hull Beach. I'd been at another local club at youth level right the way through to under 18s, and that team ended up winning the under 18s JPL National Cup. So there were some good youth players that I knew I could bring into the football club. So it was just a case of seeing who would want to come, who would fancy at step 5, who we thought we could go at step 5. We had a massive, I think we had 40 or 50 people training in the first few sessions, and then it was just a case of eliminating and picking the best 20, 21 players. And we did that and ended up not a bad season. The remit when I got the job was play nice football and don't get relegated. Let's just steady this ship, and I think we finished 7th. We could have really made promotion, certainly playoffs, had we have not had a little wobble in the middle of the season. But so it was all good.
Need the tempo to be quicker. That little passage in there, set. You've made 20, 30 yards, without playing a worldie, okay? I want quicker tempo. I want you to play the ball really mean it, okay? Let's go on, play.
So you definitely turned it around. So what kind of players have you got now playing for you ahead of this new season?
So ahead of this season, obviously, hopefully we'll keep all the boys from last year. Obviously nobody can sign yet because the forms and anything out, but so the retain list and signed, we're not doing any of that because it's just not really true. But I'm hoping to keep a majority of the squad, 2 or 3 extras to strengthen us a little bit in areas that we might have lacked. Put a bit of competition everywhere. To be fair, the average age of the team last year was 21-ish, 21 and a bit, which it's not a dude. We had 1 or 2 players that were one player was 39, but that took the average experience. You need some experience, especially at that level. So that took the average age of the side up.
Mark Baines, centre mid.
What's your best attribute?
Probably calm. Cool, calm and collected from the ball. I'll go with that. I'm good at tracking my man, not.
Who would you say you play like?
Luka Modric. Or Gaza. I'm a Spurs fan.
How do you think you would get on where the manager is 20 years old?
To be honest with you, if he knows his stuff, age don't really matter. If he's got the right tactics, he talks the right game, I don't see it being a problem. I mean, I'd like to think as an older one, I can give him my view on stuff and help him out, but everyone's got to start somewhere in life, haven't they? So But at the same time, if he's 20 and he's rubbish, he'll get told.
Other than that, though, they're 21, 22, 18. You know, they're young boys and they're hungry and they want it. And yeah, so I'm hoping for the same again this
So a lot
year.
of players came from the step below. They've got a little bit more experience now to kick on and look for promotion.
Last year I wasn't looking for anything special. A mid-table finish. I know the remit was not to get relegated. Mid-table is what we were looking for. Always try and push everybody. This year we're looking, considering we were 7th, we want to go one better. So that's not 6, but we want to try and make them top 5. At least get the playoffs. And no reason why we can't. You know, I've seen what we faced last year. There's 2 or 3 sides coming into the league this year from other leagues, promotion or relegation, and yeah, I fancy us. I know it sounds a bit cocky, but I never fear anybody. So just see how we get on. But
you mentioned that you need good people in a football club. We've only been here 15, 20 minutes and met Malcolm, and he's absolutely brilliant. How important is it to have people like that behind the scenes?
Last year it was really, really light on the ground as far as helpers, volunteers, people to stand on the gates, and he was running around like I won't say, but you know,
I've got the picture.
It was blue and he flies. So he was doing an awful lot, and then there's 1 or 2 other people like him that just keep the football club alive. So yeah, it's really important to have them people behind me, and my management team, so Wilkes, Raf, the physio, James, who does all the analysis and all that, they're just superb. It's definitely not a one-man show, but I know I'm on paper I'm the gaffer, but I couldn't do it without all of them, to be honest. So yeah, really important.
So Wilkes, you helped Robbo put this team together. What kind of players were you looking for?
Young, energetic. Obviously it was a rebuild from coming around step 4 going to step 5. Naturally you want players that are going to grow with the club, so our player profile was looking around sort of 17, 25, obviously a couple of more experienced players, so I think we've got that now, and we're just looking to build on the season really.
Samuel Buckland, 16 years old.
How are you finding stepping up into men's football at 16?
It's a huge step from youth football, definitely. There's a lot of little different
Safe. And you're at Boston as well?
Yes, Boston United Football Academy, just got a scholarship has been offered to me there, so it's looking bright for me, definitely.
What are your plans for this season?
I think I'll stay as second choice, see how many games I can get after this season, because this will be my first full season. Just want to see what my options are after that.
And I think it's fair to say you are putting them through their paces tonight. What's the plan? What's been going on?
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, when you're used to play, I think at this level, fitness is everything. You know, ability-wise, everyone's got a little bit of ability, but if you can run more than the opposition, they will make mistakes eventually and will win the games. Quality does help, but at the top level, obviously they've got the quality. We don't necessarily have that quality. It's grassroots football, so we know if we can run more than they do, we will win games. It's as simple as that. So our aim this season to be the fittest club in the UCL, come what may, and fighting it now, as you've seen, we're doing core work, Sully up, Sully down. The lads absolutely hate it, but believe me, once we start the season, they're going to love it.
I was going to say, where did you find Sally up, Sally downs from?
Well, I mean, it was going viral on TikTok and things like that, so, you know, it came up. I think my son was like, oh, look at this song, let's do this challenge. I was like, you know what, that's a great thing to do. So I thought I'll introduce it to the boys, put a bit of music as well, so it's not as a bit mundane. So yeah, it's definitely a bit fun. I mean, I guess not fun for them, but at the end of the day, we want to do well this season, and to do that, we have to put in the work. So they need to know. Ultimately, I think for me, it's all about the character, testing the people out, and obviously we weed out any weak players. And you know, we have done so. Some have stayed, so it shows a bit of resilience. And when the chips are down, we know who we can turn to.
Quincy, goalkeeper.
What's your best attribute, Quincy?
Cruyff tones.
And how did you find the Sally up, Sally downs?
That was difficult, mate. I was struggling the first 2 minutes, but later on, I got involved with it.
So it should take ones who can do it well, probably about 13, 14 minutes. One's fitness is a bit down, probably 16, 17 minutes. We're going to put an 18-minute time on it, right, to push you. So what it is, all of us are going to line up along the 6-yard line, where the cones are. It's going to be 10 times burpees. They don't need to be chest to floor burpees, just down and up, jump up, 10 of those. Followed by a 100-metre run. So that run is from these cones down to the 6-yard box down the other end. Once you get there, it's 10 times air squats. Air squats are just up and down. Yeah, 10 of those. You follow that, 100-metre run, back to here. Once you get here, 10 push-ups, 100-metre run again, at that end, 10 butterfly sit-ups. So they are where you're laying on the floor, feet together, and bring it in, touch your toes, 10 of those, followed by a 100-metre run. That is one round. We're doing it 4 times. So altogether, you'll be doing 40 burpees, 40 squats, 40 push-ups, 40 sit-ups.
How many metres?
That is 1 mile. 16 times running will equal 1 mile, 1.6 kilometres, about a mile. So that's why it's called the longest mile. I want you to push yourselves. I want you to make sure you're doing the 10 of everything. You don't need to be sprinting it on the runs. That's kind of your rest time. But just make sure you're not walking it. Just jog it along and we'll get it done, yeah? Everyone know what we're doing?
Is 100 metres just there?
Yeah, 100 metres just there.
Is there another 4 at that end?
No, you just need to know. I'll tell you, don't worry. I'm doing it with you.
Yeah, you want to be here, don't you? You want to be by the camera.
And how vital will these few extra weeks of pre-season be for the boys in preparation for the start of the season?
Yeah, personally for me, good pre-season wins you the league or gets you there to be able to compete up there. If you have a poor pre-season, in my experience, you can't patch it up during. So for us, it's important that we work with the core and make sure we knuckle down what we want. We make sure everyone is attentive, and yeah, it's simple as that. Good pre-season, we'll do well. So.
And how important is a changing room? Because the boys, every time they run past, is love it, Wilkes. It's
Yeah,
great, isn't it? The banter in a non-league changing room, you can't beat it.
Oh, you can't beat it. And you know, that's why sometimes, you know, I still miss playing, but being in and around the changing room, I think a good dressing room, when the chips are down in particular, you get warriors in there. So actually doing this and beating them like they are now, you're going to find individuals that are lacking behind, but you're going to find leaders that are going to encourage them to come forward, and that's what we're going to need when the season starts, really. So it's all fun and games at the moment, but believe me, what they do now is all about building mentality, that attitude that we want moving forward.
You mentioned pre-season started a little bit earlier. We saw it on X that you posted a video of the lads, I think about 30 of them that had turned up for training. You were doing the beat test. 1.1 million views on X, but you were still getting for it.
Oh, we were getting, it was really, the negativity. I mean, X is renowned for that, people, you know, having a little dig and saying what they want to say, but the context behind it is the fact that we'd finished the season 6 weeks prior to that, and in 6 weeks' time we kick off the new one. So since COVID, it seems the football season has been brought forward massively. It always used to be August, September start, you know, certainly for the junior level and senior level, it was certainly August. So for us, we didn't feel it was crazy. And in fact, other teams were starting that same night, but perhaps didn't record a bleep test. And the fact we'd done a bleep test on the first night was just partly so that we could see where the lads were. And then maybe in a month's time we'll do it again, and then when the season's a little bit in, we might do it again just to see who's doing what. You know, we're looking to get some trackers and do this sort of, you know, we try to be as professional as we can, and yet on a small budget. You know, I try and, you know, help out with my business connections and stuff. So yeah, so that was the reason behind it, just seeing where they are, and we got absolutely battered. We got battered for it. But
and how do you get more fans to come down and watch Yaxley?
It's a difficult one. I think as a football club, we've got to do more in the community. It's not about, you know, give. It's about what we can do. So we're going to, you know, do things like attend the school fetes, and a couple of players go down, do beat the goalie, things like that. Just try and engage ourselves with the community a bit more. And we're desperate for a bit of, you know, a bit of business support. We're desperate for community and, you know, actual support on match days. We're a good football club. We've got everything that a football club needs, a massive, nice clubhouse. We've got a decent surface to play on. We never get rained off. You know, it's everything you could want, really. But we just need the village to get behind us.
And what can people expect to see on the pitch? They come and watch Robbo's team play.
So we're certainly not a long ball team. We do try and play football. We do try and play out from the back. Obviously, there's times when you can't do it. They're young lads, they're learning, so if they make a mistake, they make a mistake. But yeah, I think we're quite entertaining. We're certainly very good going forward, and the defenders last year were outstanding. So I think we're good value for money. You know, £8. What do you want? £8 to come watch a non-league game. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Robbo, thanks for your time, mate.
No
Ignore
worries.
the haters. Onwards and upwards.
Thanks very much.